Grab your drinks and have a seat. It's time for serial killers.
Well, hello.
Hi, happy New Year's. If you're listening to this, this is New Year's Day. If you're listening to on release day, this is the first of many episodes of Fatal Blend for the year 2026.
Yup.
So that being said, I'm T.
And I'm Jay.
And we're here to talk to you about serial killers.
And if I sound a little nasally, I apologize. I am possibly on, let's call it V2 of the Disney cold because
What the fuck is V2?
Version 2.
Oh.
Because, I felt like I had the Disney cold when I came back, and I was like, hey, I'm getting better. And then it's like, well, so I don't know if this is just like the second punch or if it's something different, but definitely could do a lot with the weather. It's been cold. It's been yucky. So, you know, there's lots of reasons.
I don't know. Between you and our son, who also has been kind of not feeling great, I honestly have to think, truthfully, that it's allergies or something, because I would be sick right now like you guys if it was something sick. And I'm not feeling like you guys at all. I have like a little tiny cough that's almost completely gone, and I have nothing else. I've not even had anything remotely close to you guys.
I take my allergy meds most mornings, and I don't know.
I think you guys are just fucked up. Well, and our dog is feeling sick too. I don't know what's going on in this household. I think the demons have struck us or something. I don't fucking know. Anyways, so that being said, because it's cold and you feel like Junkie Roo, what are you drinking?
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah, not something that would help your cold, like me.
Yeah, I am. It's tea. It just happens to be the most amazing Milo tea.
Milo's tea. Yay!
I like Milo's. Yep. And if it's Milo's, don't care.
I feel like Milo's is better, so if it is Milo's, too bad. I'm calling it Milo's. That's the...
I think I might just call up their
Western
customer service
be like,
line
how do you
one
say
time,
your name?
just because they'll probably answer it like Milo's or Milo's or
that's a
whatever.
good idea.
I'd be like, ha-ha, and hang up the phone.
So, yeah, if you have been listening to us for a while, you know that Jay has that Milo's.
I just
zero
like it because
sugar,
it's zero sugar, but it's still sweet.
It's fucking sweet. I just tasted it the other day and almost died.
Yeah.
It's a zero sugar iced sweet tea that comes like in a gallon jug, like what you get your milk in.
Yep, and I've created
it's
a
got
new cap for it that just has a straw, and I just right out of the gallon jug. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be
It's
awesome.
got like a fucking chokehold on him. Like he goes to the store, and if there's Milo's, he takes and grabs and buys.
Hey,
it's
like $3.99 at the store near us, and that's a lot cheaper than crack. All right?
That's true. That's true. So I'm drinking right now in my very cute Disneyland mug that I absolutely love that matches my sweatshirt. And Jay happens to have the exact same matching mug and sweatshirt because we are those people.
Weird dorks.
We are those people who go to Disney and match our things. But anyways, I am drinking just black tea with a little bit of honey because it is cold as hell outside.
Plus, without the honey, it tastes like dirt.
No, I actually don't mind it without it. But sometimes, you just want a little bit of sweetness. Just a little bit to it. Just a little addition.
Too bad it doesn't, manifest in your body.
To what?
Sweetness.
I just got that.
Yeah, your kids will like that one.
Mm.
They'll be like, yep.
So,
Yeah.
So I have to address something really quickly, and I'm doing this because we always have talked about this. We've always said hey, if I get some information wrong, or if you know something more than what I'm telling, please reach out and tell me. And I really had a lovely back and forth conversation with a woman on Facebook recently. And she had brought to my attention specifically, so if you can remember back to episode 88, which was 4 weeks ago, we did an episode on the Briley brothers. And just a small refresher.
The McBriley brothers.
I needed to say that. That's part of it. If you remember, okay, he was all about that with the McNasty, which is a casino game for all of you out there who maybe didn't listen. If you haven't listened to episode 88, go ahead and listen to it. But we were talking about the Briley brothers, and the Briley brothers were 3 brothers plus a friend-ish, I guess, that were labeled as serial killers who killed a bunch of people and robbed and all this stuff. Now, towards the end of that episode, we were talking about the sentences that they got and stuff. And we had actually mentioned Anthony Briley, who is the youngest who was the youngest of the Briley brothers. And I had even said in the episode, I was questioning whether he actually did anything, because throughout the whole episode, his name's not really mentioned except for when they get arrested and all that stuff. And somebody reached out to me, and they sent me a video of I think it was maybe a documentary or something, but it was talking about Anthony Briley, and it was, which then I, of course, responded with, that's kind of what I felt, because it was talking about how, that he never killed anybody, that Anthony Briley never killed anybody. And then she continued to educate me, honestly, and explain to me that not only did Anthony Briley not kill anybody, he was labeled as guilty in the public eye before he could even be considered innocent, which I totally agree with, actually. That he has never been convicted of murder, but yet he carries the stigma of being a murderer because of his brothers. And she also said he had so at the time, so this is where she's coming from, and I completely agree with her. He was the youngest brother of the Briley brothers. He had no history of violent crime. He also was only 19 years old, which in today's world, at 19, he would actually have been considered, his sentence would have been considered differently because of the fact that he's 19 years old and your brain is not completely developed, which again, as a psychology major, I agree with that. And she talks about how the justice system basically had no proof. There was no proof at all, ever to him. There's no proof. There's no evidence. Still to this day, there's no proof. There's no evidence that he did anything wrong other than steal, which was pointed out that he did steal from the people, but he never murdered them. And just so you know, she did talk about the fact that he has been sentenced. He got sentenced to a single life, plus he has 139 years. So whereas his 2 brothers actually got the death penalty, and they were both executed. If you listen to the episode, you would know. The whole point of this that I'm bringing this up is because I have made it very clear that if you disagree with me, tell me why. If you have some information to put into something that I've said, tell me what you want me to say, and I'll go back and I'll correct it if it's a problem, or I'll address it if it's something that needs to be addressed. And I do feel it needs to be addressed because Mr. Briley is still in jail right now. And there's actually people advocating for him. I think they are actually trying to advocate to get him out of jail, or at least to get his sentence changed, because a life sentence without parole plus 139 years for no evidence of murdering somebody because his brothers murdered people. And it has been, even the prosecuting attorneys had said, like, we don't have anything that shows that he might have done this. We just know he might have been part of the stealing. So I didn't know. So maybe educate me differently, but I did not realize that stealing things equates to a life sentence in the world that we live in.
Years.
Yeah. In the world we live in, I didn't know that was a thing. So if that's the new sentence for stealing, by God, strike me down, because holy shit. So I just wanted to bring that out. And I did genuinely appreciate the back and forth conversation that I had with her, because she was very pleasant, because she was very informative, not disrespectful, rude. She didn't even call me out. I thought, because I sometimes get people are like, you're wrong. And that's all they say is you're wrong. And it's like, well, tell me what I got wrong. She didn't even say that. She just shared with me some information. And I said, holy cow, that's kind of what I thought. I kind of thought that, I had suspicions that maybe he was guilty, as she put it. And I agree, guilty by association. which in my personal opinion is one of the worst ways to be guilty, because I was guilty by association when I was in high school by my brother. My brother had a really bad reputation, and I got to school when I was a sophomore in high school and was immediately first day basically told that they're not going to put up with my shit like they did with my brother. And I'd never done anything wrong. And so it's like, I don't believe in guilty by association. I think you're guilty if you did something and you're not if you didn't. And if you hang out with people who are shitty, that doesn't make you a shitty person. So I wanted to just address that really quickly. And I wanted to thank her for enlightening me and educating me on things that I obviously try to get as much information as I can, but the media shares what they want to share. You know, they share what's going to get them the most views. They share what's going to get them the most shares. And so she gave me some insight onto things, and I wholeheartedly agree with her. I think that there is definitely grounds for Anthony Briley to, if anything, get his sentence resentenced to where maybe he's not in jail. And I mean, he's an older man. He's an older gentleman now. So like, really, if he got out of jail, it would not bother me at all, because it really did like I said, even in the episode, I said, like, I don't even know what he did necessarily, because his name was not mentioned in really anything other than the fact that he hung out with his brothers. And so I do think this is one of the times that he was wrongfully convicted of something that he didn't do. Now, don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I just wanted to personally say thank you for being so nice about it and educating and be willing to have the conversation. And I wanted to make it known to everybody else who had listened to the Briley brothers that Anthony Briley truthfully was probably wrongfully convicted for murder because he didn't murder anybody. So if you have not listened to episode 88, Briley Brothers, go listen to it. You don't have to listen to it now, but listen to it at some point, and then you'll kind of get what I'm talking about. And you'll probably come to the same conclusion of, that the Anthony had nothing. I mean, there was nothing that really seemed, he was different than his brothers. Cause I also want to point out, he graduated from high school and he had like things going for him in his life. So it would have been out of probably character. It probably would have been out of character for him to actually do something like that. So anyways, I wanted to make sure that I addressed that now before we get into what we're talking about this week, because I have always said that if there's something that needs to be addressed, that I'm going to address it. And if something needs to be fixed or changed, I'm going to do that. And I don't think I did anything necessarily wrong in the Briley brothers, but I wanted to make it very clear that I had my questions about it in the episode, and I even more so question why he's in jail. Yes. So one last thing, I really just wanted to make it clear that I'm not here to lie to you. We've had some issues with that. We've talked about it. I'm not here to lie to you, and I want people to know that I'm here to inform, and I'm here to tell you what I can find. And I absolutely never take offense to somebody correcting me, because I am only human, right? So I can only find what's available on the internet and like through books, and every documentary, every media news story has their own agenda behind it. And I know that. So I try really hard to research in a good manner, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. So this has always been my promise to you guys, is that I'm not here to diss or dog on anybody. I'm here to tell a story. And if I disagree with how things were handled or disagree with situations, I like to voice my opinion. But other than that, I'm not, I wanted to make sure that I make it right in this moment. However, we are not going to be talking about the Briley brothers anymore today, because that's not who we're talking about this week.
Yeah. Who are we talking about this week?
So this week we are talking about Richard Evonitz. I don't even know if that's how you spell his name. I mean, say his name, but that's how I am saying it. Evonitz. I'm not sure. I feel like an asshole because I don't know, but that's just what we're going to go with. He has three or more victims. The locations of the murders are Virginia, South Carolina, California, and potentially California, potentially Florida. The murder dates are 1996 to 2002. The method of murder is strangulation and characteristics are rape and kidnapping. Before we get into this, I need to make it very clear that we are going to be talking about the abduction, rape, and murder of young people. I'm not going to go into serious details, but I just wanted to let you know that that's what this is about. Now, one thing I am going to say is I've actually, a lot of the people that I was researching, like a handful of them actually called him like the most heinous serial killer. And I completely disagree. He's a shitty person. He did a bad, did some bad things, but maybe they've never read about the toy box killer. Like for reals,
Yeah, there's
there's some really heinous
disturbing people
motherfuckers out there. Albert Fish, fucking toy box killer. He's Jack the Ripper. Like he's not it. He's just a serial killer. So anyways, I'm gonna let you all know that. So Richard was born July 29th, 1963 in Columbia, South Carolina. He was the oldest of 3 kids. He had 2 sisters, 2 younger sisters. His parents were Joseph and Tess Evonitz. And it sounds like there may have been some issues in his family. His parents separated when he was a baby, and then they separated again when he was about 12 years old. And it doesn't sound like he had a very good childhood. Full stop. Just kind of the usual. In 1985, his parents officially divorced. So they were going, I think there was quite a bit of the together, not together, together, not together. It was reported that his father was an alcoholic who would oftentimes drink until he would become unconscious. So not like a dad who's like sipping back on grandpa's old cough medicine every night.
He was drinking to pass out.
He was drinking to, get totally shit-faced. But he would also, during those times, degrade his family. Now, he would do things like call them morons, peons, idiots. Like he would verbally attack his family. There was also a report that at one point his father had drowned Richard's dog in front of Richard. So there's that.
That's fucked up.
That just might give you a little sneak peek into what kind of a lifestyle he had. There's also a claim. There was a couple of claims. I think I researched, maybe it was 8 different things that I read between, and like about half of them had a claim that Richard, when he was 6 years old, his father attempted to drown him. So that just kind of gives you not a good life. Not, again, never to excuse the behaviors, but maybe go, ooh, if he would have been in a different household, would he have become a serial killer? I don't know. So in 1980, Richard graduates from high school. He then goes on and he actually joins the Navy. I swear to God, like half of our serial killers join the fucking military, which is insane.
That's because they want to kill.
After he joins the Navy, he actually serves as a sonar technician, which also sounds really cool. I know sonar is how they like not travel, but I know it's because of their submarine.
Yeah, like,
are they in
like submarines
or
and stuff use sonar to basically see.
Yeah, like a bat.
Yeah,
like a bat uses sonar. And so that's kind of cool. Like in my brain, I'm like, damn, like you got to be kind of smart. I'm thinking to learn sonar technology, but maybe not. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't think I could do it. So he also receives a good conduct medal as well. So it's like, it sounds like he was in the Navy and kind of did the shit. Like he did the damn thing. Then in January of 1987, Richard exposes himself and masturbates in front of a 15-year-old girl in Orange Park, Florida. So in 1987, he's 24 years old at this point, and he does this. So he's basically in his car, and this 15-year-old girl is walking with her 3-year-old sister down the street, and he is in the car
doing the
thing. And except for, it sounds like he saw her and continued to do it. It's not like he was by himself and was like, oh shit. No, it was almost like he saw her and made it very well known. Now it was reported, she goes home. It's reported. Oh no, sorry. Blah, blah, blah. So this happens. Now it's also reported that after that day, he ends up following her and her mom the next day. Like he goes the next day, finds the same girl, and she's with her mom, and he follows them. So the mom takes down his license plate number, and they go to the police and they report this to the police. He is arrested a month later. And the reason he's arrested a month later is because he was on a Navy ship at the time. And so I don't know if he was like docked for like because I don't know how Navy works, but I'm assuming they port and they have to, you got 24 hours, they got to be back on the boat or whatever. So I'm assuming that he was there doing that. Then he goes back on the ship, leaves, and then he comes back. Well, when he comes back, he is arrested. And he pleads no contest to the charges, and he gets sentenced to 3 years probation. Now, here's something I don't understand. And maybe if any of you out there are military, you can explain it to me. But if you got arrested for exposure, indecent exposure, and I don't know what the charge would be for masturbating in front of a 15-year-old, but
I think it has to do something with like lewd conduct.
Maybe, yeah. So if you got those, and you were in between your ship trips, let's say, would there be grounds for like, would that be a problem in the military? Like, would there be a problem in the military for you being arrested for that? Like, could they kick you out of the military? Could they like dishonorably discharge you?
I would think so.
Me too. And the reason I'm asking this is because he stays in the Navy for 8 years total is how long he's in the Navy. He, again, joined when he was like, I think 18. And he gets honorably discharged from the Navy. Like he does his thing. So I'm sitting there wondering, like, when you get charged with something like that, does the Navy just turn their cheek and be like, "Wow, well,
I would say
civilians."
I would say no, but there had to be something more around this.
Yeah, that's my thought because I was like,
I've definitely heard of military people doing crimes like outside of the barracks and getting booted out of.
Well, that's what you would think,
military.
But yeah. So anyway, so he was honorably discharged. He served his 8 years and left. Now, following his leave from the Navy, he actually does not have any issues finding and holding jobs. He works consistently, and he typically likes to have jobs that are at places that sell like air compressors and grinding equipment, just like things like that. And he holds these jobs, like actually like normal everyday stuff. Then in 1988, Richard marries Bonnie Gower, which makes me think of It's a Wonderful Life. Mr. Gower.
Yep.
Now, this marriage does not last, and it ends up dissolving in 1996. But I mean, that was a good, 8 years? No, yeah, 8 years. That was a good 8-year run. Didn't last. But following this divorce, Richard struggles financially. And part of it was because him and his wife had a home, they had a mortgage, and she leaves, right? And when she leaves, it's up to him to pay all the bills, and he doesn't make enough money to pay all the bills. So he ends up filing for bankruptcy in 1997. And he also tries to start up a business, which does fail. And he ends up having to foreclose on his home anyways. Now in 1999, Richard marries again to a woman named Hope Crowley. Now during this time, he is actually working at an air compressor company in South Carolina. And it was reported that the women that he worked with at this company avoided him because they felt that he had anger issues. And he also had a very misogynistic attitude, and they didn't want nothing to do with him. Okay. We're going to jump back in time a little bit. So he got married in 1999, but we're going back to September 9th of 1996. Richard abducts Sophia Silva, who is 16 years old, from her home. She's out in her front yard, or not out in her front yard. She's out in the front of her home in Spotsylvania, Virginia. Sometimes when I hear these cities, I'm like, I don't even know that was it. That sounds like a made up word.
Yeah, it does.
Spotsylvania, like Transylvania, but it's anyway. To all of you living in Spotsylvania, you live in a cool ass sounding place. I'm just going to say, I thought it was fake. I'm not going to lie. So she was sitting on her front porch. She was working on homework. And her sister goes outside to get her to come inside. And she finds an empty soda can and her class notes just sitting on the porch. So she actually ends up going in and telling her parents, like, she's gone. And they immediately freak out because it's like, well, what the heck? She was just sitting on the front porch. Well, her body is not found until about a month later. And it's found in a creek in King George, Virginia. However, at the time that the police find her body, they have no idea who could have done this. They don't have any idea how she died because her body was very badly decomposed. So it was kind of like They just knew that she had like up and disappeared, but they had no idea why. Now on May 1st of 1997, so this is like 9 months later, Richard abducts Kristen Lisk, who is 15, and Catherine Lisk, who is 12. Now they're sisters, and he abducts them from basically their front yard. Now both girls were last seen getting off their school buses. Now they rode 2 different school buses, probably because one was in high school and one was in middle school. And they both of them were reported to be seen getting off the bus, but after that, nobody knew where they were. Their father comes home from work, and normally when he comes home from work, his daughters are there, and he finds no sign of his daughters. The only thing that he sees is that Kristen's book bag is lying in the front yard, kind of like it was thrown there. And he obviously was like, ooh, that does not seem correct. And so he actually ends up calling the police to be like, something's wrong. Now, Richard ends up taking these 2 girls. He sexually assaults both girls, strangles them. Then he disposes of their bodies in the South Anna River, and their bodies were found 5 days later. After this discovery of the 2 girls, they noticed that there were some similarities between them and Sophia.
Does it happen to mention what those similarities are?
Yes. So one, they all 3 bodies had been found in basically just disposed in rivers, not necessarily the same river, obviously, but both in rivers. They were all strangled. They had all been sexually assaulted, and there were some similarities of something that he had been doing to their bodies, which I don't really feel like needs to be vocalized, but they were all the same.
Yeah.
So they do end up really looking closely at these murders of the Lisk sisters and Sophia. And they are able to link the 2 murders together forensically. Not by DNA necessarily, but they are able to find something, and they don't specify what, but they're able to find something basically that was either at all of the crime scenes or on all 3 bodies, that they all could be connected to each other. I have a suspicion I know what it is. But I have a suspicion. I know what it is. I think they found I know that they found carpet fibers on all 3 bodies. So I have a feeling that they found the carpet fibers and then were able to link that all 3 carpet fibers were from the same home, but they don't know whose home. But that at that point, they knew somebody had killed these 3 girls, and it was the same person who had killed them. Kara Robinson, who was 15, she's living in South Carolina. Now she's at a friend's home, and she's helping her friend do chores, as we all did back in the day. When you're staying at your friend's house and your friend's parents are like, you got to do your chores. You're like, I'll help. And you get up and do it. That's what she's doing. So one of the chores was to water the plants outside. So Kara is like, yeah, I'll do that. So she grabs a watering can and she goes outside to the front, starts watering the plants. Well, during this time, a man in a Pontiac Firebird pulls up to the home. He approaches Kara with a handful of magazines and tells her that he is distributing them throughout the neighborhood and asks her if her parents are home, to which she replies, no. And he then takes a gun and immediately puts it to her neck. And he tells her, I won't hurt you if you do what I say. He then brings her back to his car at gunpoint. He puts her in a large container, shuts the lid of the container, and drives off.
So I'm guessing the container was in the trunk?
Well, it's a Firebird. Where was that container? It had to have been in the trunk. Right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think of where else it would be. Like, you're not going to be rolling around with a barrel in your passenger seat.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So then right after she's taken, not right after, but pretty closely after she is taken, her friend goes outside and realizes she's not there. And she immediately calls Kara's parents, and she's like, Kara's gone. Like, she tells them that she's missing. They don't know where she is. So Kara's parents immediately call the police to report her missing.
It's like one of the worst calls to get.
Oh my
as
God.
a parent.
I couldn't even. I don't even know what I'd do. But of course, as the parents are explaining to them, like, oh yeah, my daughter, she's missing. She was at her friend's house. The police are like, well, she probably just ran away. So she's probably just a runaway. So they listed her as a runaway, which if anybody doesn't understand why that's important, I don't know about other countries, but in the United States, if you are listed as a runaway, they don't really look that hard for you. Actually, I don't even know if they look for you. They just list you as a runaway and move on with their day. Richard, as this is happening, Richard has now taken Kara to his apartment. He ties her to his bed and he rapes her repeatedly over 18 hours. When he finally falls asleep, he has now handcuffed Kara to the bed. Badass fucking Kara escapes.
Gotta be one badass in there.
Badass Kara. She immediately runs into the street. So she's able to get the handcuffs off and she runs into the street and there's a car and she goes to the car and she's begging them like, please, I need help. And the people in the car were like, absolutely. So they took her to the police station. She literally gives the police a full account of everything.
Then she's like, come with me.
She was calm. She was collected. She wanted to make sure every piece of information was right. Now, during her abduction, she had actually grabbed onto every piece of information that she could, and she kept repeating to herself, like while she was in that container
Barrel.
in his car,
Yeah.
she said, I kept telling myself, stay calm, gather information, escape. That like a mantra. Stay calm, gather information, escape. Stay calm, gather information, escape. Because she was not going to go out like that. That's just, she's 15 years old.
Yeah.
So police take the information that she tells them and they're like, okay, they figure out that it's Richard and they're like, okay, let's go. She was able to even direct them to his apartment. That's how much like paid attention information she had. And so she tells them where their apartment. So the police end up taking her information. They go to his apartment and they're like, yeah, we'll just go arrest him. Well, when they get there, he's already left. So he must have woken up not long after she escaped and was like, fuck, I'm out. And he left. Now, during the time that he's running from the police, because at this point he's on the run because he knows the police are looking for him, he actually has made contact with his sister. And he confesses to killing someone to her. And he says, I'm in trouble. And he tells her, I committed more crimes than I can remember. So he's like telling her these things. At that point, I don't know if he was trying to get it off his chest because he felt bad. Or, I mean, I'm not really sure what he was. I don't know what he was really. I don't know what he was doing by calling his sister and confessing. But he most definitely called his sister and confessed. And he tells her, hey, can we meet at the IHOP in Manatee County, Florida, so that we can talk, so that I can tell you all these things. And she's like, cool, sure. So she hangs up the phone and calls the police.
Hell yeah. If my family's listening, don't call me. I'll turn your ass in.
It's not funny, but I was like, when I read that, I was like, damn straight. Like, I think about that all the time. Like, it would be so hard. To be fair, if your family member called you and said that they had murdered somebody, yeah, it would be really hard in the moment to be like, I'm turning you in. But at the same time, I'm turning you in. Like, I'm not going to protect you. I don't care. I mean, if you killed somebody because they were like in self-defense, I'm still going to probably turn you in and then you can fight that shit in court. But I'm not going to fucking hide you. I'm not going, no, because, nah. No, thank you. So she calls.
I said, I ain't the one.
She calls the police and the police end up swarming the IHOP that he's supposed to be meeting her at. So they like literally bombard this IHOP to wait for him. Well, Richard pulls into the IHOP and realizes there are cops everywhere and he immediately knows what's going on, which I'm like, why couldn't you have been like.
Yeah, like undercover cars or something.
For real.
There's just a bunch of cop cars hanging
Or
out
like send in a couple, have him sit in the restaurant till he fucking shows up. I don't know why we had to do that. Well, especially because he sees this and immediately leaves the parking lot. And he takes off driving 120 miles per hour in the wrong direction of traffic. Okay, so because he's running now. He makes it all the way to Sarasota, Florida when the police finally catch up to him. At this point, he is surrounded by cops and Richard pulls out a .25 caliber handgun and shoots himself in the head. See, had you not basically given him the idea that you guys were, that this is, I'll never understand that. Let's show everybody that the cops are there. Like, why could, there was a different way to handle it. Cause you know what? You would have taken him alive.
Yep.
Cause it would have been a surprise. You didn't fucking surprise his ass. I mean, you did, but you surprised him in the parking lot. Like, no, why didn't you do it differently? I'm sure if they look back now, hindsight's 20/20.
Oh, I'm
right?
sure. And I'm sure the person that he spotted was like, oops.
Yeah. So after this whole thing happens, they end up searching his apartment and they find news articles about the murders of Sophia, Kristen, and Katie. They also found items belonging to Sophia, Kristen, and Katie. So they knew for sure that he had to have been the one responsible now for that. Because again, remember, they didn't know he had murdered anybody. They just knew that he had abducted a 15-year-old Kara who came out and told them that he had abducted and raped her. So now they find out that he also was responsible for the murder of Sophia, Kristen, and Katie. They also found a list that they believe were other potential future victims with their personal information. So he had a list of other girls that he was looking like he was going to do the same thing to. Now, they were able to confirm by forensic tests that Richard had, in fact, murdered Sophia, Kristen, and Katie. Fibers from his apartment matched the ones that were found on the girls' bodies. That's why I think that they were able to link the murders together in the first place. A handprint that belonged to Kristen was found in the trunk of Richard's car as well. And DNA samples were taken, and those were also a match. So it was 100% he did that. Now, since he died, before they could actually talk to him, they were unable to actually figure out how many victims he actually had, because they're pretty sure there are definitely more, especially because of how long there were between his murders. One of them was like 9 months. The other one was like 2 years.
Yeah, he's definitely...
And he lived in other states, right? He didn't just stay in the one. Like he traveled to different areas. So to them, they're like, we're thinking there's definitely more victims out there, but we don't even know where to look. We don't even know how to look. We don't know where to start. And now you can't ask him. Now, Kara, the survivor, she said, and I quote, I wanted, because she was mad that he killed himself. She was upset.
I'm sure she was.
She said, and she's 15 years, please. She's 15.
This girl's up there with the mud arm.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She said, I wanted to go to trial and let him see me again and know I was his downfall. I wanted him to look at me and know that choosing me was the biggest mistake he ever made. Which I'm just like, fucking badass.
Hell yeah.
Like, you're 15 and that's where your brain is? God, like, I want to be like you. I mean, I kind of am. I'm not going to lie. But I think in her situation, I don't think I'd be like that. I think I would have died. Dead honest. I would have probably rolled over and died. I don't find myself being, if I get kidnapped, I think I'm just giving up.
You're like, okay.
I think as soon as it happens, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm toast. Okay. See you on the flip side. Like, I just don't think I have that drive to want to live that long. I don't fucking know. Anyways, so that is the story of Richard Evonitz. I do have some shots, as per usual.
And we are here for those shots, as usual.
So when he was arrested in 1987, so you remember he got arrested in 1987 for masturbating in the car in front of the 15-year-old girl. He reportedly told police. Now, see, this is where my frustrations come in with the police officers. He reportedly told the police that he, quote, had a problem masturbating in front of girls. When he feels the urge, he drives around looking for a girl 18 to 19 years old, short in height, and has brunette hair. And they gave him 3 motherfucking years probation. That's frustrating to me. You just had a man basically tell you that when he gets the urge to masturbate, he goes and looks for girls of a specific height, age, and hair color. And he chooses to masturbate in front of them. That does not deserve 3 years probation. That deserves jail time.
Yep.
So the fact that was what they thought, but again, he was military, so I do wonder if that had something to do with the sentencing. Now, one of Richard's sisters described their childhood as a prison. She said their father was very controlling and demanded that they get straight A's. If they didn't, he called them stupid and punished them harshly. She saw him as a sadistic person who enjoyed making their life miserable, which it does sound like that. However, this is a prime fucking example. His sister has come out and said that their childhood was a prison. His sister has come out and said their childhood was terrible, but his sister is not a serial killer.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like, this is where it comes into, This is why you can't use your childhood as an excuse
No,
for murdering
it's
people.
It
could explain what may have happened,
yeah.
but this is why you should never look at a serial killer and be like, oh,
You had a tough childhood.
your childhood was rough. Well, let's give you the lightest sentence we can. That's why you can't do that, because for every one serial killer who had a terrible childhood, there's about 150 others who had a terrible childhood, if not worse, and didn't kill anybody. It's not the same.
Well, and he did tell his sister that he's committed more
He
crimes
did.
than he can remember.
Right. So you know there's more.
Yeah.
You know there's more people out there. Now, there was a reward that had been offered for $150,000, and it was from the murders of the Lisk sisters and Sophia. Like, they had created, because they didn't know. They just knew they were related. They didn't know who. And so they had put out a $150,000 reward. And that reward did go to Kara for identifying him. Fucking again, badass Kara.
Well done, Kara.
Now, Richard also has been a suspect in a 1994 abduction and a 1995 rape in Spotsylvania, Virginia. He has also been looked into for the murder of Jennifer Odom, who was 12. She disappeared from her bus stop in Pasco County, Florida in 1992. He has also been looked at for the murder of Sarah Cherry, who was 12. She was abducted and sexually assaulted and murdered in Maine in 1988. Now, during that time, Richard was working in the same area that she disappeared from. However, another man actually has been charged and has been found guilty for her murder and does sit in prison for her murder, but he swears he's innocent. He has maintained his innocence and he swears he never did anything. Now, there is DNA, and they did take Richard's DNA to look to see if it matched the DNA found on Sarah Cherry, and the results were inconclusive, which does not mean no. It just means that whatever DNA they have is not able to be matched well enough to conclusively say yes or no. So unfortunately for that, that's also because Richard's no longer here, so they can only use what DNA they have, and if it's not a good sample, they can't, what are you going to do about it? And my final shot, Kara Robinson. We have to end it on Kara.
Of course.
Kara Robinson actually thrives in her life after this, and she ends up becoming a victims advocate. She went to school for criminology, I think it was, and she's a victims advocate now. And she said, and I quote, "I teach others how to heal and how to take control of their lives after being a victim. I aim to show them that we are not defined by the things that happened in our past." Which to that, I say...
Too bad I didn't have the...
I know. We can't do that.
Yay!
But bravo, Kara. Bravo. I commend you on everything that you've done. Being a victims advocate is amazing. I think people who advocate for anything, whether it be victims or drug rehabilitation or abuse victims, I think the people who make the best advocates are the ones who have experience. I just do. I think if you've experienced it, you're going to make the best advocate if you can. And to take what happened to her, not only survive that shit, but to point the finger at who it was, only to have him take his own life, which is so shitty. And then to take that and go, okay, well, that's not going to define who I am. And then to become this person who thrives and has a family and goes to college and now reaches out and helps other people. Good on you. I'm a very pessimistic person. So for me, I'm sitting here going, I just don't think I could. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do if I was in that scenario. But to be that person who thrived at the age of 15 and to take that.
To think in that aspect and to stay calm.
The calm is, I mean, they even said when she showed up at the police station, she was so calm and collected, and she was very just like, this is what happened. And I know maybe part of it was she was in shock, but some people are just really fucking strong, and clearly that was her. She was bravo, Kara, because if it wasn't for Kara, how many more people would he have killed? Yeah, truthfully, how many more people would he have killed? Because Kara is, even though he killed himself, how many more victims would there? I mean, we already know there's got to be more. That's why it's 3 or more, because they're like, he's already suspected of at least 4. but they can't, they're never gonna be able to prove anything. And so it's just like, between 1996, which is when he supposedly started killing, to 2000,
Yeah,
there's going to be more. And to be honest with you, he was in the Navy for 8 years. He traveled. I guarantee you, if you look at other states, other countries, other places he's been, I don't think this started when he was 25 years old. I just don't think it started that late. I think there was definitely, if not murders, at least the masturbation and public indecency thing was probably started a lot sooner. I would definitely be looking at rape victims all over the state and the country, which they're not going to because, well, again, why? But anyways, so that's Richard Evonitz. Like I said, fucking shitty, but not the most heinous crimes I've ever.
No, there's definitely some worse ones out there, but the fact that he focused on younger individuals does make it.
Well, it makes it
pretty damn disturbing.
It does. And to be honest with you, the part of this that really gets me is, other than those things, as far as like being out in the world, it doesn't sound like, I mean, yes, the women who worked with him thought he was an asshole, but nobody thought he was creepy, right? Nobody ever came out and was like, ooh, that Richard guy. Nobody. So it's like he was able to just like blend into the world and blend into the public and people. And if you see a picture of him, so when you're listening to this, if you're on Apple, again, if you're on the Apple podcast, they're not going to show you the picture. But if you're on YouTube or Spotify, the picture you see that you're seeing on our episode is Richard. He looks like just like a regular dude. There's nothing creepy. There's nothing that strikes you creepy. And so that's the worst part to me, is sometimes you look at these people and you're like, ooh, I'd kind of steer clear of him anyways. That's not somebody, you would genuinely not steer clear of this guy. You would genuinely be like, oh, he's just a normal ass dude. He would blend in every scenario. He would blend in everywhere he went. Nobody would think twice.
That's what makes it scary.
That's what I'm saying. That's to me was like, okay, well, that's why he was able to get away with what he did for so long. So, and one more thing, how brazen to bring these girls back to your apartment. Apartment where other people live next door to you and downstairs and upstairs. That's pretty fucking brazen anyway. So the fact that he did that is crazy in itself. But anyways, yeah, so that's Richard Evonitz. And if I said it wrong, I apologize. I just don't. How do you look up how to say his last name? Like, I don't know. Anyways, thank you very much for listening to us, and Happy New Year. Hope this was a good one to start off the new year for you. If this is when, if you're listening to this on New Year's.
Damn, too bad we couldn't find one that they were shooting people, because then we could say we started it off with a bang. But I can't tell that joke.
No, you can't.
But I said it anyways.
You did. But for no reason.
Yeah. Because it was in my brain and I needed to get it out.
Thank you again for all your continued support. Jay and I really appreciate you. I'm going to say the same thing. So if you listen to Crime Bitches, just know I'm saying the same thing. I'm going to say the same thing that I said on there. I genuinely appreciate the listeners that we have, the followers we have, and the people who continue to download us every week, because if it wasn't for you, I would be researching serial killers and true crime on my own and telling nobody but myself in my brain. And that's really fucking awkward.
Freaking me out.
And people get really weirded out by that. And so now when people say, oh, what are you reading? As I read my serial killer books and stuff, I can say like, oh, I'm reading about this person because I do a podcast, and people are like, oh, that's cool. It's very different to say that than to be like, I'm just reading about serial killers because I like them. like, you know what I mean? Like, you have made it to where my dream of being able to research and get into the brains of serial killers and true crime people, I'm totally able to do, and it doesn't make it creepy. So thank you very much for that.
And again, if you don't agree with us, if we've got something wrong, if you want to just chat, send us a note. We're not mean people.
No, and
we're not going to respond negatively.
Never.
We're gonna respond with,
open dialogue, open minds.
Because we want to know if we got it wrong, and there might be a little back and forth banter to make sure, but we have no problem.
I'll be honest with you. If I could be like a If I could be somebody who just sat and studied people all day long, I totally would. So I'm all about learning everything I can. I want to be a sponge to soak up all the information, and I like to tell truthful things. So if there's something that you're like, yep, that's not true, first of all, I'm not lying. It's just the information I was given. So one more time, thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for listening. And thank you very much for continuing to like, and share us, because we appreciate you. And other than that, thank you for listening to us talk about Richard Evonitz. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to lock your doors and bar your windows. Until next time.